Hey guys, welcome back to the Crypto Corner. Today's episode is taking place on February 13th, 2019, and we have a lot to talk about today, so let's hop right in. I'm going to try to make this video so it's not so long, but I'll see what I can do here, but I have a lot to talk about. So, let's look at the macro trend of Bitcoin today. Okay, it seems like I'm beating a dead horse every single episode, but I think it's important to remember the current state of what we're in. Whenever you look at a chart, I think it's very, very important to zoom out and really look at the big picture. Of course, this is all the way back from October, November of last year, all the way through the bear market, so you can get a big picture of what's going on. Look at the macro trend and see the big picture. Very important to see that. If you zoom all the way in on these little micro trends, and it could skew your thinking, okay? So really look at the big picture first, and then you can zoom in closer to see what's going on the smaller trend. Okay, so we are still fighting a massive downtrend since last year. Let's make no argument there. So we fell down from the 6K range. We consolidated out in this range for a very, very long time. We dropped down, and now we hit our, I'll use quotes here, our bottom, back on about $3,200 mark about December 17th. We have, since that time, we have done three things, which is pretty interesting. One, we have began to consolidate out in a couple of different ranges. One range, the green lines here. So if we go back to prior support and resistance back from around August, September of last year, you can see these ranges right here were pretty important, that they served as significant support and resistance, right? So since we fell down from our 6K range, we have began to consolidate inside these green lines. Okay, so that's a price channel. So we're in this channel right here, and we're respecting these lines so far. Also, another thing that we have done is we have began a downtrend channel within the green lines. Okay, so these red lines here is a channel that we have also been respecting, which is indicating we are heading down. That's price channel number 2. Number 3, we are also forming a symmetrical triangle. Okay, so typically when on a pattern like a triangle like this, is once we get closer to the end here, that's when you will typically see a break one way or the other. Well, which way are we going to go? Well, no one knows for sure, but that's when you try to look at your indicators to determine which way is likely to go. One thing you need to look at is volume. Okay, we have decreasing volume since we fell all the way from the 6K range. We've had a few spikes, and I'll talk about this spike in particular in just a minute. But we've had declining volume. Okay, that's kind of a red flag. Red flag number 2 is we're having a stochastics cross, okay, on the daily time frame. Okay, that's one thing. To put it simply, the stochastics RSI is a good indicator to kind of help show momentum shifts in the market. Okay, so we are getting a cross right here. When you see that blue line cross below the orange line, that's an indication of, okay, something is about to maybe happen. So keep a really close eye on it. It's not always 100% accurate, but it's another indication that you should definitely keep your eye on. Okay, don't put all your money in these because they're not always right. But okay, couple that with low volume. Okay, now it's making more sense. Our RSI it's in the 50 range, so it's right in the middle. And traditionally, you can see that this 45 to 50 mark on the RSI is supporting has been serving as good support and resistance. So we have room to go up and we have room to go down. So with that stochastics cross, my belief is I believe we're going to come down. Okay, well, we had this huge spike in volume right here. What happened here? What this is a classic bull flag, right? Well, yes and no. So for those of you that are maybe just starting out and learning this formation, a lot of people are saying is a bull flag. And it very well looks like one. It's classic bull flag formation. You have your flag pull up and you're consolidating out, forming the body of the flag, right? You can also have bear flags, same type of thing. You can have a flag pull up and a continuation pattern or consolidation pattern, and then that would be typically indicate a drop down, okay? So on a structure like this or on a pattern like this, the way you typically try to look to trade a pattern like this is you measure the flagpole, right? This is the flagpole, and typically that will be the area of where your price will jump up to. Okay, so if we break from this pattern from where we're at, this wasn't exactly perfect. I'm just doing it for illustration purposes. You can see if we were to break up from where we're at now, where that would take us. It would take us directly to this white line of this symmetrical triangle, and maybe possibly even to the top of this red downtrend channel. Could this happen? Very well could. This very well could happen. Okay. Well, that means we're going up. Well, we're going up short term. Going up short term, but you can still see even in this shorter trend that we are in, we are still making lower low or high, lower high, lower high, lower high. And let's say we do go up, or let's say it does shoot up to this red. It's still lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Does that make sense? So let's not lose touch with what's the bigger picture. That's the trend, okay? If you really want to get an idea, look at the daily. And for me to get excited about something, I want to see us gaining levels that we have lost, okay? So let's say that this is that area where I said we could possibly go up to. Well, still lower, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. I want to start seeing higher high, higher high, higher high. Start using some of these prior levels of resistance as now support to. It's almost like imagine yourself in an office building, right? You walk down steps to go lower. Well, if you want to go higher, you have to walk back up those steps, okay? So that's the only way you make progress in going higher is if you climb the steps that you just went down, okay? Until we start climbing these steps and using them as support, using our stair analogy, then it's hard to get excited that we're going back up. We can have these little micro trends that we go up and we spike $200 or $300, but in the big picture of things, we're still going down. I hope that makes sense. Okay, you know, even on the weekly time chart, you can look at the weekly. We're still nowhere near making anything that looks like a reversal. Okay, I still think we're going to consolidate out in this range for a long time. I personally, and this is my personal opinion, I could be wrong on this, but I personally believe that we will break down from this area and we will start retesting this area here. There's a lot of support and resistance in this area right here. And the reason why I say that is because we've been in this range for a while. Our volume is just not there. We just don't have a lot of volume. We have a little bit. Most of this is the volume leaving the market, but we just don't have a ton of volume. You can see where we're at right now on the weekly. It's not a lot of volume. Okay, so I think what we maybe need to do is we need to drop down to this area where there's a lot more support and resistance, and use this, which I think if Bitcoin were to drop down to the $1,800, $1,900 range, even all the way up to the 2,000 range, I think that would entice a lot of people and bring a lot more money back into this market. Okay. Will it go down that low? I don't know. Maybe. I think it's very possible. Okay. So if we go back into the daily, if we have a spike in volume and do shoot up, then we could shoot up to possibly this $3,800 range. Okay. Maybe as high as this area here, the 4,000 range. But even if it does, guys, until we start gaining these levels, don't fool yourself and think that the bear market is over. Okay? The bear is still alive and kicking. It is still there. Let's make no, don't fool yourself when you see these huge gains. Let's talk about these gains just really quick so people can understand what this is. So when we see huge volume spikes come in all at once, okay, if we zoom in on the 4 hour, you can see all this happen within just a few hours, right? What this is not hundreds of thousands or millions of people all buying Bitcoin at one time. This is not, everybody rushing to buy Bitcoin when it happened to get down to 33.50. What this is market makers, which are usually big, we'll call them whales or institutional buyers or whatever. That's what these moves are. Okay, call it manipulation, call it whatever. It's in every single market, guys. Try not to obsess about manipulation. Well, you know what? It's in every market. Always has been, always will be. So try not to beat yourself up over this type of stuff. It's going to be there. It'll always be there. Okay, so just learn to recognize what it is and work with it. Okay, and try to understand what this is and where it could go. So when this happens, so this price jump was, what, $300 or $400. Let's take a measurement here. So this measurement was $337. Okay, to make Bitcoin jump $337, that's a lot of money to make price jump that much. I don't know for sure, but if I were to speculate, I'm guessing tens of billions of dollars. Okay, 10, 20, 30, 40 million, maybe even more. I don't know, but we're talking many millions of dollars dumped into the market all at once to make this move happen. Okay, so what these whales or institutional buyers or whatever make this, what their hopes is by driving a huge candle up, people will start to FOMO in. And if people don't understand what FOMO is fear of missing out. So the average person will see this and think, oh my God, it's we're going to the moon. And then they'll start buying. Okay? And then their hopes is once this happens, Bitcoin will organically, the price will come up 1, 2, 3%. Okay, just from average normal traders or average bots making their buys. So let's look at this. So if, let's say a whale, let's call it a whale for argument's sake. Let's say a whale dumps in $10 million to make this move, right? And let's say they hope that Bitcoin price will go up 1.5%, 0.15. Oops, I did that wrong. Hang on one second. Let's say they dumped in $10 million. There we go. That's right. Times point. Oh, I did it wrong again, guys. Bear with me. 100 million or 10 million times 0.015. So that's 1.5%. Well, they just made $150,000. if they just allow it to go up 1.5%, which you guys know as well as I do. 1.5% is nothing, okay? So, and they may let this money right here ride until organic trading does allow it to get up higher, okay? So it might be 7-8 days, it might be 10 days, it might be 2 weeks. But I think you and I can both agree, if we had $10 million and you put it away somewhere for 10 days and you made $150,000 in 10 days, that's not too shabby, right? So that's what these guys are doing. They're hoping to make 1, 2, 3%. And then they'll pull the money back out and they'll do it somewhere else. Call it manipulation, call it whatever. Yeah, okay, it's there, guys. I mean, that's a lot of these big moves, that's what that is, you know? And just out of curiosity, a lot of this is recycled capital. So if let's say we take a measured move here, okay? So we take that measured move. Look at that. It's the same amount of spike, okay? So it may not be exactly, but it's capital base being recycled. It was put in and it was pulled out. Then it was put back in here and it'll be taken right back out, okay? This is not organic trading, okay? So it's there. It will always be there. But once you start seeing organic trading get above these prior resistance lines and start using them as support, then that's when you can kind of get excited. We don't have the volume that would indicate that we're ready to go up long term yet. Okay, I think we're getting there. We're getting close, but we're not there yet. So let's look at LITECOIN. LITECOIN is doing something, actually we've been pulling back a little bit since I've been doing this video, which is pretty interesting. So LITECOIN, let's look at the macro trend. LITECOIN, let's get back to the daily. Okay, so we have been, let's compare two charts real quick. So LITECOIN, since the beginning of our bear market, we have been forming this white line, which is our downtrend line, right? Bitcoin, very much the same thing. Let's look at this. We're forming this white line. And since we formed this white line here, we've been kind of chilling out and just kind of not really going up, not really going down. If anything, we may be going down in these red lines, okay? LITECOIN's a little bit different in the fact of once we came down, we, again, air quotes, bottomed in this $22 to $23 range. And since then, we're going up, okay? So let's go back to the Bitcoin chart so I can show you something. So Bitcoin on the daily chart, lower high, 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 lower high. Back to the LITECOIN chart, lower high, 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 higher high, higher high. Interesting. What's even more interesting with LITECOIN is that this white line is our downtrend line. We are now currently above our white trend line. What in the world just happened here? We are now above that white trend line, okay? Which that's pretty interesting, okay? That was has been acting as a lot of resistance for us for a very long time, this white line right here. And we were right at it and we busted through. I actually made a video, I believe it was on the 31st, saying that a big move was coming and that signs were looking good for LITECOIN to go up. And the reason why that video was posted was, I believe it was on the 31st, if I remember right, for a couple of different reasons. One, on the daily, we had a stochastics cross up that showed that momentum was starting to shift up. Our RSI was looking really good. We were right in this middle, in this 50-50 range. So we had plenty of room to go up. And we were right starting to fight this downtrend line. So we were right there. The recipe was looking really good to make a move. Okay, so I posted a video saying, hey guys, LITECOIN is about to explode. which if you would have bought in on the 31st, I believe we were like right around the $31 range. That was about a 53% move. Okay, it went up about $16 in price. So that would have been a pretty decent trade. But we also have to watch this upper trend line, this channel that we're in. We also respected this upper trend line channel. We are in this channel here. So guys, keep a close eye on Litecoin right now. The next resistance mark that we're going to have is this area right here, this $49 to $50 range. This is going to act as some pretty good resistance because we used it as resistance, or I'm sorry, support for a couple of months back, all the way from August all the way to when we dropped. Okay, so that is our next hurdle, which happens to coincide with the upper part of this trend line, the upper band of this uptrend channel. Okay, our volume is okay. We're looking okay on volume. But the one thing to never forget is that Litecoin is an altcoin. Okay, altcoins typically follow Bitcoin in the fact of, if Bitcoin is kind of chilling out, really not doing much, this is the Bitcoin chart. If Bitcoin's just kind of hanging out, that's when the alts will typically make their moves. If Bitcoin falls hard or raises hard, then altcoins will not do as well. Okay, and it's hard to say. You know, Litecoin I think is the number 4 coin right now. Sometimes we've seen Ethereum, especially Ethereum and Litecoin, act opposite of Bitcoin, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now. It's in an uptrend channel, whereas Bitcoin is kind of in a downtrend channel. Okay, but one thing I want you to kind of to look at is look at this trend line right here. We have been respecting this trend line over and over again for many, many days, and these are daily candles. We are respecting this and it's acting as support. What I would like to see from Litecoin, personally, is I would like to see Litecoin come down. We're actually in a halfway decent range right now. We're in the $40 mark, which has been acting as it acted as resistance for us for quite a while. What I would really like to see is for Litecoin to come down to the mid 30s, where we were at right here, and ultimately down to here, the $34, $33 range. And I would love to see a retouch of this line above this downtrend line. If we could see something like this, if we could see something come down and touch this line and get a reaction off this line, that would further confirm this line as support above this downtrend line. I think that would be an extremely bullish sign for Litecoin, and maybe it could be ready for a run. And if we could get above there, we almost touched it here. I think we could probably touch, maybe come down, and then we could possibly break through and hopefully stay within this channel. So I'm going to be watching Litecoin extremely close because it's making some moves here that are kind of opposite of Bitcoin, which is pretty interesting. You know, since I started this video, Litecoin's fell a couple of dollars per Litecoin. So we're currently in this candle, so I'm going to watch this candle pretty closely. I think it's coming down. It's testing some prior resistance to see if there's a good floor here. You know, think of this. Think of when you're in an office building, or you're in any building at all, and you're and you want to go up, right? You have to, when you walk down steps to get higher, you have to walk back up those steps. Okay. So let's look at Bitcoin, for instance. If you look at Bitcoin, if you look at the huge macro trend, we have not taken, if we use our step analogy, we have not taken any steps up to say that we're going higher. Okay, we've stepped down, we've stepped down, we stepped down, we're stepping down our staircase, right? Well, until we start stepping up those steps, we are not gaining any levels. Okay, we're not going higher. Does that make sense? So if you look at Litecoin, however, we're stepping down our staircase here, and now we're starting to step up steps where we have used them as support, or as support and resistance in the past. Okay, so we're starting to make steps up. That's why I would love to see Litecoin come up and create another higher high above the downtrend, and that would be a very good sign for Litecoin. Okay, so anyway, I hope all this makes sense. Oh, one more thing I want to touch on. So on Litecoin, what I want you to be cautious of is that we saw something like this just recently with another coin. I don't own any of this coin, and if you are a huge fan of this coin, you know, I'm not trash talking your coin whatsoever, but you know, this is for illustration purposes only. So let's look at Tron. So Tron started this uptrend line back in November of last year. And again, it started making this very similar moves, retesting this line over and over and over again. Well, since then, it fell off from about the beginning of February. It broke that the uptrend line, okay? So that invalidates that line. So could the same thing happen with Litecoin? Very possibly could. So that's why I say use a lot of caution when viewing this, when Big Brother Bitcoin is still in a massive bear market. Okay, so could this be making moves? Very well could be. If I was going to be buying and trading Litecoin right now, I think I'd want to see a retouch of this. I want to see a retouch of $35 to $36 range to buy in and use it as support and then come back up. If that were to happen, if it invalidates this uptrend line, then I think we're going to be coming back down into our downtrend channel. Okay, so anyway, I hope this makes sense. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below. Actually, tell you what, guys, post a comment down there. Let me know what you guys think of this analysis. If you agree with it, if you don't agree with it, just let me know. And if you guys would like to see something different in other videos, by all means, just leave a comment below and I'll work on that. If you guys would like to get these videos right off the press, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell that's right next to it, and I will see you in the next video.